Now it's time for tip-episodes with quick tips you should know. Techniques you can implement into your workflow right here on A Tale, oh yeah, A Tale of Two Hygienists.
Listeners, welcome to this week's tip episode, joined today by Kelli. Kelli, thank you for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so we always like to start off, especially when we have new guests to the platform, just a little bit of a background. Do you mind just walking us through kind of like who you are, where you're coming from, and what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. My name is Kelli Bingham. I am the executive director of Harmony Health. We are a fairly new nonprofit organization located in West Virginia, but we have a national reach. We were founded in 2023 by an amazing dentist who, really saw that there was a need for so many people who just didn't have access to oral health care. And so, whether that be due to socioeconomic status or lack of access to providers because of insurance reasons or other things like that. And so really the purpose of the organization is to help kind of bring those challenges to light and find out different unique and innovative ways to help sort of bridge the gap for people who aren't able to get access to care.
How do you go about identifying the area that you want to hone in on? Is this someone sends you a pitch idea and say, hey, come visit us in this town? Or how does that part work?
Yeah, so a couple different ways. I think, as we've started out, there's been a couple of opportunities for us that have come up just because of need. So whether it be a state, in one case, a state Department of Disability who was really interested in trying to improve access to care for that particular population, or a state who is having a particular challenge that they are facing and want to try to figure out how to dig deeper into that challenge is typically how we get started in figuring out, what's the best way for us to move forward. And we kind of do that through two different ways. And depending on what the particular project is that we're doing, it could, be done both through research and analytics or also through pilot programs. And so trying to test out different ideas, pilot out new ideas. And we're particularly focused on technology. And so, on the data analytics end, I think sometimes in order for change to happen, people really need to know what the breadth and the scope of the problem is first, right? So for policymakers to have more information, to make decisions, they need to know what the problem is, how big the problem is, where there's, potential places where we can make some changes. And so we do that work. And then we also will come in and once we know sort of what the scope of the problem is and what we're trying to address, whether it be for a particular population or a geographic area, then we'll go in and look at what are some tools and things that we can do to test out and try to improve access to care in those particular places.
Let's dive a little bit deeper, if you don't mind, in some of these technologies and analytics. What are you looking for specifically, or what tools are you looking or are you using to find this? Because so for this, where my brain is, so this is all foreign to me, right? So I'm assuming that you guys have a targeted population, and then you're going to go in and we're going to figure out, is this always caries related? Is this always peri related? Is this children? Is this, and then how do you quantify the data that you're collecting?
Yeah, so I can use an example of one project that we did that or we're in the process of doing that's really focused on individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so we really started with the problem. They knew that there was a problem. We knew that there was a gap in care that needed to be solved, but didn't really have a lot of specifics around what that was or how big the gap was, things like that. So we started off with the data analytics piece. And we did that through many different ways. One of the typical things that we did was things like surveys and trying to understand across the entire state or population, what are the problems and what are people thinking and saying, looking at different stakeholders, whether they're providers or hygienists or others in the community that might, be touched by oral health in some way with this particular population, getting their personal opinions and experiences to try to understand from different angles what the problems are. And then another thing that we do, we've done this in several states, is to take a look at what we call a mystery shopper, where we actually go in and we'll look at dental offices all over the state or whatever the service area is that we're looking at, and try to understand how long the wait times are for different populations. And so we call looking for an appointment for whether it's a cleaning from a hygienist or, for cavity treatments as well, and trying to understand, are there discrepancies between how long a wait time is for one type of patient, whether it's their insurance or their status, things like that. And so we really kind of are able to get very real-time, deep information about what's happening on the ground to be able to understand the depth of the problem. And so we've done those types of things for the data analysis component and then are able to publish on those so that that information then can be used for policy change in the future. But then the second piece is really looking at the pilots and how then we can take technologies, which I mentioned earlier, and move those forward. And so some of the technologies that we really try to look at are, things that will help to improve access to care for patients who maybe can't get to the dentist as often, or that can provide more information to a provider in the office. So in the case of individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities, for example, we've used smart toothbrushes in looking at how can we take that information and then can the provider help to support the patient in the practice when they have data on how the patient is brushing at home, things like that. And then we also have used salivary testing to look at how you might be able to better understand what's going on inside the mouth of a patient and then provide more information to them and more coaching to them to be able to improve their oral health. And so those are kind of some of the pilots and technologies that we've looked at. We're also very interested in thinking about different sensory technologies and things that can be used to really support individuals with disabilities in that way. How can we use telehealth in the future? So there's lots of different ways that we can kind of move depending on what the challenge is and what we're trying to look at. But that's just to kind of give you an example.
Oh, this is phenomenal and fantastic. At what point do you start bringing in maybe like outside help? Like I would assume like hygienists and stuff could be, part of this to some degree. Like at what point do they become a part of it? And then how involved are they with the organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so all the pilots that we do, we try to partner with existing dental practices that are interested in doing this work. And so they really want to be on the forefront of new technologies. And so, we gather the care team up at the beginning of a pilot who's, signed on and said that they'd like to participate with us, provide training on all of the pilot, the different technologies that we'd be using throughout that pilot. And we really try to work with them, throughout the program. It's really sort of a two-way street of understanding. I think we probably learn more from the hygienists at this point than anything else because they're really on the front lines that are caring for patients and, we're inserting new technologies into an existing process that's a very well-oiled machine, right? I think they all have, as hygienists and providers, you all have, specific times allotted for different activities and care flows and things like that. And so when we're introducing something new into that, we really want to hear from them, from the hygienists and from others on the care team, what the experience is like, what things are hard, what things worked well, how did you adapt your care flow to insert this into your processes, any recommendations for improvements, things like that are all really, really valuable. At the end of the day, we're doing these pilots on a small scale so that we can gather information and try to help on a much larger scale. And so, I think hygienists play a huge role in helping us to be able to do that and to move things forward.
There's a hygienist listening to this, we'll say from like Idaho or something like that. And they're like, this would be really fun, but it sounds like you're really far away. Like, is there still a way for someone to be involved even like at a great distance?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have programs and pilots that we are implementing and adding to all the time. And so if someone is particularly interested, I would highly suggest just reaching out to us and, we'll try to find a way to plug you all in. We're really looking for any hygienists or individuals who are interested in trying to try new things in their practice and implement new technologies, particularly for individuals who are underserved. We've looked at individuals in rural areas, whether individuals who have disabilities, older adults, populations that maybe have some specific needs or challenges that we're trying to address. And so, yeah, there's always room for more help. We need as many people to join us in this as we can.
I love it. If someone wanted to reach out, they want to find out more information, if they want to maybe get involved in some way, where would you suggest that they go find that information?
So you can reach out directly to me. That would work. We also have, and I can give you that information as well. Or we have on our website, there's an info@harmonyhealth.com email you can reach out to, and we'll be able to get you that way. But there's multiple ways that you can get in touch with us, and I can make sure you have all those.
Awesome. Well, Kelli, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it too. It was great.
A tale of two hygienists.